Everything looks good. Mayor Beagle, the meeting is yours.
Thanks, Rob. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular city council meeting scheduled for tonight, Tuesday, December 8th, 2020. It's a virtual Zoom meeting. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic
for which
for which it stands,
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
liberty,
with
liberty and
justice
justice for all.
for all. Thank you. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Beagle,
I'm here tonight.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
I am here.
Councilmember Behrman,
Here.
Councilmember Gotchall, Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
Here.
Councilmember Sharp,
Present.
Councilmember Smiley,
Here.
quorum present.
Thank you. Changes or additions to the agenda as presented tonight. City Manager Brown.
I don't have any, sir.
Thank you. I have two tonight. I have a piece of correspondence that was mailed to me that I'd like to read into the minutes. And also I would like to take out of the consent agenda, item number 2, and move it to presentation right after the changes and additions to the agenda. All right. So with that, I would like to read a proclamation in. We have the Moms Club of Wixom who are going to do an adopt a park. And I'd like to read the proclamation that we have for them. It reads as follows. Whereas the city of Wixom has 7 parks which enhance the quality of life on all of its citizens, and whereas in the spring of 2007, the city of Wixom launched the Adopt a Park program, and whereas the purposes of the Adopt a Park program are to promote civic responsibility, pride, and volunteerism, to enhance and maintain the appearance of the city, to raise public awareness of the cost of littering, and to improve the environment. And whereas the city of Wixom wishes to acknowledge and commend those companies, families, and associations who participate in the Adopt a Park program for their volunteerism, dedication, and assistance to the city through their participation in this program. And whereas Moms Club of Wixom has generously volunteered to participate in the Adopt a Park program by helping maintain Gunnar Matala Park. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council of the city of Wixom hereby recognize and commend the Moms Club of Wixom, Michigan for their volunteerism, dedication, and assistance to the city through their participation in the Wixom Adopt a Park program. Thank you. And we do have somebody from the Moms Club of Wixom on tonight. If you'd like to come on and introduce yourself and give a little explanation of your organization, please.
Hi, my name's Tabitha Smith, and the organization is moms that have smaller children, and some are stay-at-home moms, some are working moms, but we get together, we do things throughout the community. We do organizations like this. We help with food drives, clothing drives throughout Wixom. And then we also do things within our organization for our kids. But I just thought this was a very good opportunity for us to help the community cleaning, and so we enjoyed it.
Well, we enjoyed having you on board. Thank you so much for volunteering. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tabitha.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And you can stick around and watch the rest of the meeting if you'd like.
Okay, I would, but I have things to do.
It's a
Okay,
generous offer.
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
You were kidding.
Next up, we have the approval of minutes. We only have one set of minutes tonight to approve. It's the regular city council meeting of November 24th, 2020. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Move to approve. Support.
Thank you. Any corrections, additions, deletions? All right, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Aye.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Next up is correspondence. We have 2 items of correspondence tonight. One is a notice of hearing for the gas customers of Consumer Energy Company, case number U-20893. And I received a card in the mail this week, and I would just like to read it into the record. It says, "To our mayor, city council, and staff, thank you for the beautiful flower arrangements from you all. It came at such a perfect time to be such a blessing to us. So beautiful. Again, thank you for thinking of our family during our loss, the Stilley family. As you know, Pastor Stilley, who is the pastor at Wixom First Baptist Church and also the police chaplain, his father passed away, and we sent some flowers there, and they appreciate it. Right. Next up is the first call to the public. I'll read the rules to the call to the public. They're as follows. The public shall address the council during call to the public, which shall be included on the agenda immediately after correspondence and immediately again after new business. The first call to the public immediately after correspondence shall be limited to agenda items only. A person shall not address the council in excess of 5 minutes unless the time is extended by a majority vote of council present. Persons who wish to address the council shall identify themselves and their place of residence and shall state their reasoning for addressing the council, and all comments to the public shall be made directly to the council. And if you are on the phone, please use the *9, I believe. Yep, you're pressing *9, it'll raise your hand and we'll call on you. Do we have anybody for the first call to the public?
Let's see here. No one has raised their hand yet. Reminder, if you want to address council, press *9 on your phone to raise your hand and then *6 to unmute yourself. We'll give it a moment. No one has raised their hand yet. Again, *9 to raise your hand. Okay, no one has raised their hand.
All right, I'm going to close the first call to the public and move on to city manager's report. First report we have under there is the fire monthly report from October 2020. Any questions for Chief Roberts? The Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Chief Roberts, I noticed there was a considerable drop in medical emergency runs. And if I recall as well, back in March, April, we had a considerable amount higher because of COVID runs and things of that sort. Has something changed? Are we doing real good with the COVID here?
Well, unfortunately, in October, we were seeing less calls of the COVID nature, but with the change in the climate, weather-wise, our runs are going back up, more COVID related at this time.
Okay, so next month report, we'll see an increase then.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the chief? All right, seeing none, I'll move on to the police monthly report of October 2020. Any questions for Director Moore? All right. We'll move on to the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered routine by City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the items will be removed from consent agenda and added to the regular agenda at the end of unfinished or new business. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Or
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Smiley,
yes.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Aye.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
7 yes.
Thank you. We have no unfinished business tonight. We'll move on to the first item under new business, which is a recommendation to approve an addendum to the council rules of procedure addressing electronic meetings and remote attendance. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Good. City Manager Steve Brown?
Yeah, so just a brief summary of the report that was provided. We've had a situation where the city's been operating with remote participation through Zoom meetings as opposed to having true public meetings because of a change in the Open Meetings Act that was first made possible through executive orders through the governor's office. Those executive orders were basically invalidated by a Supreme Court decision, and the legislature subsequently took action to allow those meetings to continue. There were a variety of timeframes that were in there, one ending at the end of this year, 2020. Some differences that would take place between January 1st and 12/31 of 2021, and then circumstances for January 1st of 2022 and thereafter. So because of that legislative action, the city attorney recommends that we take some action to approve this addendum to the council rules of procedure to allow us to continue to have remote meetings or Zoom meetings as opposed to true public meetings in line with that state legislative action. I mentioned in my report that I'd made a few changes to it. Those were basically detail-oriented things where there were references to this entity being responsible instead of that entity that wasn't correct vis-a-vis how we do business in the city of Wixom. So I made a couple of minor tweaks to it. And the document is before you for you to consider approving as an addendum to your rules of procedure. And the last thing I'll say on that front is when a new council is seated, there's a meeting that takes place shortly thereafter where you set your rules of procedure for the upcoming period of time. You did that after the last election, and this would be an addendum to those rules of procedure to cover this period of time that is referenced in the addendum to allow these electronic meetings.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Resnick?
Mr. Brown, under item or the middle bullet point, January 1st through December 31st, 2021, it states that there has to be an existence of a declared statewide or local state of emergency or state of disaster. Does the MDHHS epidemic orders come under one of those two definitions then?
Yeah, I think you could probably make an argument about whether that does cover it or doesn't cover it, but I'm not going to worry about that because we do have a local emergency declaration that was done with the pandemic, and we have not revoked that. So we're still covered under that, but that's an interesting question that if you'd like, I could do some research on that and find out what we think the answer would be on that. So I was a little curious on that myself, but I decided not to dive into it too much because we do have the local emergency.
I think Public Safety Director Moore has something.
Yes, Mr. Brown and Mr. Mayor and members of council, at a recent Zoom meeting for the Oakland County Department of Homeland Security, this very issue came up, and we were told that, you know, it's okay to keep your local state of emergency in effect, but if you choose not to, you're still covered under the Oakland County Declaration, and as long as you're still covered under the Oakland County Declaration, everything you're doing by virtue of these meetings on Zoom are still valid under that county declaration.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks, Ron. Anybody else have a question? All right. I've got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to approve the addendum to council rules of procedures addressing electronic meetings and remote attendance. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Aye.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
yes,
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion passes. New business number 2 is a recommendation to award the bid for sexton services for the city of Wixom Cemetery to Huron Cemetery Maintenance of Highland, Michigan for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Public Works Director Sigma, do you want to chime in on this one?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for a 3-year term for the sexton, the Huron Cemetery Maintenance works with local funeral homes to assist with the burial, and with the recent purchase of the columbarium, we felt it was prudent to take this out to bid. So we took it out to bid for the 3 years, and the attached pricing is for that. Typically, we don't see, as a city, don't see that money. That gets handled completely through the funeral home and with Huron Cemetery. Yeah, this is the contract for that.
Any questions?
Just a little piece of information, if I may, Mayor. The duration of this is interesting. So unsolicited, I had asked Tim about what's our succession plan on this, right? Because we have somebody that's been doing this for years. What if he doesn't want to do it anymore? The duration of this bid is 3 years, kind of in line with his potential looking at retirement at the end of that 3-year period. So hopefully we'll have some training taking place with somebody, and hopefully they'll have the interest to continue with that work. Otherwise, we're going to be faced with the challenge of finding somebody else to do this sexton work for us.
Hey, Tim, how many of these sexton businesses are there? Because for us to only get one bid, and it went out on the bid net through Mitten, and we only got one bid. That's kind of.
Huron Cemetery Maintenance does all of the local cemeteries in the area, including Milford and up to Fenton and Brighton as well. So they have a number of, they already do a number of them. And really we haven't had any other interest for a number of years on this one. So yeah, we had hoped that there would be more, but no luck there.
We got 3 years to find a new one.
That's right. Or learn how to do it.
Or retire.
Councilmember Behrman.
That was actually going to be my question, is whether or not the DPW could do this if push came to shove.
I have spoken to a few directors who have done that in the past, and it is an option for us at that point. Yes.
Obviously, at this point, it makes sense to move forward with the company that's been doing it forever. And
right.
Looking at the bid packet, I mean, all the references were every local cemetery around, including ours. So no reason to make a change now. I'm just more curious if there's something we could do in the future if we had to.
Yep. We're hoping that they will have a succession plan within 3 years as well.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Tim, just enlighten me here. I understand the cost for a grave opening and closing, because you have a backhoe in there and you have to carefully excavate and sometimes even warm the soil. But the cremation in the niche, I thought it was just 4 screws with a special wrench.
Yes, there is a special wrench that's involved, and it's a matter of who keeps that wrench, and it's also the documentation of what and where that is in there. So there is some documentation. It's doesn't seem like we're getting the value that we had expected from that particular piece, but yes, you're picking up what we kind of questioned as well. Some of it may be kind of the fear of the unknown, because they're not sure what will be involved once we get that columbarium installed.
I understand Huron, and I talked to a couple of funeral directors, and they do a lot of niche work, like in Holly and other places. So why is it such a mystery? I mean, it can't be more than a 10-minute operation.
That is true, and that's just well, there's a point of lining up the pieces to make sure that the engraving is done correctly, and making sure that all of that happens as well. So there is some work involved there, but
the engraving costs are not included, correct?
That is my understanding, that it is not included.
Wow. Okay, man, maybe I'll do it in the year 4. $475 or $500.
Right.
Something we can look at as we gain experience with it. So
that's the other part. On another note, I did speak with Inch Memorial today, and they had some COVID-related problems of their own, and have had a couple folks out sick with that. So they're not expecting to get our columbarium finished until mid-January now. So we're hoping to see that go in either towards the end of January or the middle of or February, in that time period. So yeah, that was a note just today. So I thought you'd be interested.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Tim? All right, seeing none, I've got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to award the bid for sexton services for the City of Wixom Cemetery to Huron Cemetery Maintenance of Highland, Michigan for a 3-year term ending December 31st, 2023. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Resnick,
Yes.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gatchel,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
yes,
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. New business number 3 is a recommendation to award the purchase and installation of a swap loader, a hook lift hoist system for the F-550 truck from Truck and Trailer Specialties of Benton, Michigan, at a not to exceed cost of $49,930 from dump truck and equipment replacement account number 411-441-973.392. Do I have a motion?
move to
If I may,
approve,
real quick, before you make that motion, in line 2 of that, I would like to change after the F-550 truck from to. So we're going to award the purchase and installation to, as
Okay.
opposed to from.
Okay.
Just noticed it when I read through it earlier this evening. I apologize.
Okay, do I have to reread that? Or are we good with that?
No, we're good.
Well, I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Or
Thank you. Any questions? Man, you're letting these guys off easy tonight.
Thank you.
we saw
I
the
got it.
pictures.
Yeah.
There we go. I hope that helped.
Help me.
Great idea.
I have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to award the purchase and installation of a swap loader, a hook lift hoist system for the F-550 truck to Truck and Trailer Specialties Incorporated of Benton, Michigan, at a not to exceed cost of $49,930 from dump truck and equipment replacement account number 411-441-973.392. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gatchel,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
yes,
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Aye.
7 yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. New business number 4 is a recommendation to accept the proposal from Hubble Roth and Clark of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan for easement acquisition services on sidewalk, pathways, and road projects. A motion?
So moved.
support,
All right. Tim, you're up again. And also on this call today, we have Nancy Vaught and Mike Darga, both from HRC for questions. Go ahead, Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This recommendation is for easement acquisitions. Typically, these easements are handled through the given projects. These particular ones are city projects that are a little further beyond the scopes that have been done in the past. We're trying, for example, the sidewalk proposals that we have out. There are a number of easements that we're trying to acquire, and frankly, we need help getting them in a timely fashion with our time being limited. We also, part of this is the design piece and the surveys that all takes time. Another future project that we are looking at is, possibly widening a road or, changes to roads in the future that we would use this for. So we're recommending Hubble Roth and Clark for this work. There was one other applicant, a real estate company that does this sort of work throughout the United States. They are a reputable company. Their costs were higher than HRC's, and we feel that HRC knows the folks involved to some extent, and that's why they have a financial advantage over the other company. And I think they can do a great job on this as well.
Very good. And just to make this clear, this did go out for a bid through Mitten, and we only received 2 bids, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions from council? Councilmember Berman?
So, thank you. Going through the proposal, I would agree that obviously the estimated cost per residential and commercial is lower, but I didn't quite understand how we got to the projected expenses. And Tim, you just briefly hit on that we have projects, but nowhere in this new business was listed what projects this is encompassing.
So that there are the road projects that we have are for widening some of our major roads, not in like subdivisions. So it would be Beck Road, for example, or Maple Road or Potter Road that aren't included in any given subdivision. So we may need to expand a drive or a turnout, for example, or widen the road. And we're hoping to do some of that. There's also one other one with potential for Landro, which is in our capital plan in the future as well.
So is this us just saying when you need to use Hubble, Roth, and Clark, you can use them for easement acquisition without coming back before us? Or I just don't understand how you have projected expenses, but you don't even know what the projects are going to be yet.
So the 20 sidewalks are along Wixom Road, and we are looking for projects moving forward. Potential projects along a Beck Road, particularly, and along possibly Maple, that we would like to acquire now while we have the time. And if we get the coverage for, say, a grant or something in the future, we have better access to grant opportunities if we've already acquired road right away for those projects. But the primary rationale for why we put it out at this time is for the sidewalks and pathways along Wixom Road.
I guess I'm not comfortable approving this until we have documentation on what you're looking to spend. And this is almost, it's over $100,000, correct?
I think it's I think our total expenses that we're estimating right now
30,000
is 34. That's
About 125.
It's about 100.
I would
Could potentially be
assume
125. Yes.
I would assume that Hubble, Roth, and Clark received a list of what they were going to be doing to give this quote.
Oh, they were we estimated 35 road right of ways, and that we were looking for, and based on the pricing that we received, that would be where we got the value from. Whether we pay that will depend on where and how successful we are on acquiring those easements. We do have that in capital under our LDFA and also under our road maintenance.
So in terms of the scope of the work, we know the sidewalk projects, we have sections that have been identified, and we know which sections that have been identified that we do not have those easements. So we had a good estimate of the number of easements we would have to acquire for those sidewalk projects. And that's where we have the 20 residential properties that we're speaking of. The 35 commercial properties, that is a little bit more of a projection kind of thing. Like, for example, the Beck Road widening project, we don't have a Beck Road widening project, and we're not going to have a Beck Road widening project unless or until we obtain some serious funding from other sources that we're currently pursuing. But to further that application process, for example, under the build grant application, the more easements you've acquired to support the work that you're planning on doing, the less that you have to accomplish in that regard in the future, the better your chances are of being funded, right? So that's something that we're aiming towards. It's not a project that's going to be done anytime in the next 2 years worth of time. But at the same token, you don't want to decide to do a project and then start acquiring right-of-way for it, right? Because you're going to have a hard time attracting funding. You're going to have a hard time getting the project done in a timely fashion. So this 35 commercial properties is in relation to those kind of situations where we're anticipating a need. We're going to need to do something in the long run, whether it happens in the next 6 months, 2 years, 5 years. It's acquisition that needs to be accomplished in order to make that kind of a project a reality. So that's what the 35 commercial properties entail. You're right, Councilperson Behrman, that we don't have a hardcore project outlined there, but we do have the need to acquire the right of way in order to make that kind of a project a reality.
Yeah, and I think Deputy Mayor Resnick can vouch for this. That was like one of the first questions when we were in Washington for the Beck Road project was how much of the easements do you guys have? And we were a lot better shape than Novi, and I think that had a little bit to do with us not receiving any money, but they were impressed with the amount that we had so far. So we need to keep doing that. Make sure to ensure that project goes through.
Hopefully that's helpful. I mean, I do understand the question from Councilmember Behrman. So
I completely understand that we need to do it, and I completely support us doing it. I guess I'm just confused at this agenda item in particular for us to approve it when we don't even know what we're going to be using it for yet. But if we don't acquire these easements, then we're not going to be spending the money, is what you're telling me.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, right, as we pursue them and identify them and prioritize them and put them in front of HRC, that's when the work would be undertaken by HRC and costs incurred by the city. And if it gets down to the point where it's something where we've identified a bulk, then we would need to have a concern about how we're going to obtain the funding, make sure the budgeting is taken care of, and all those kind of things. So it's going to be something that would take place over a period of time. I don't see it being completed in a single budget year or anything like that. It's going to take time. So it's a little indeterminate at this point. I understand the question.
Thank you.
Councilmember Grenell Fox, and then I'll go to Deputy Mayor Resnick.
I'm all set. My questions were answered. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Yeah, Mr. Darga, maybe you could just answer on the schedule. You have a unit price down there of $150. That seems for every category, and I was looking.
Hey, Tom, you're on mute right now.
We lost Tom.
I'm sorry. How's that?
That's better.
In the schedule, you have a unit price listed at $150 per hour, it looks like.
Yes.
One of the line items was invoicing, right? I'm like, isn't that a clerical administrative cost? And shouldn't that be at the $60 charge? Or am I misinterpreting the way that's written?
Well, most of this work will be done by our right-of-way professional. So the invoicing is more, let's see, the spreadsheet. There's a spreadsheet that we put together to track the easements and the times and the meetings. So I don't know, it's more of just an hourly. I have 15 hours in there associated with that for those 35 easements. I mean, you very well will get charged probably your, clerical rate for that work if a clerical person works on it. Yes.
But wouldn't invoicing or filing be more of an administrative task, not one of the engineers or senior technicians?
Yes.
Yeah, so it looks very confusing to me, the way this is written, that it's going to be $150 an hour for invoicing.
This is Nancy Futt. Can I say something about that?
Certainly. Welcome, Nancy.
Hi. So some clarity. First of all, we don't charge you guys or really most of our clients to do invoicing. So what that probably is for a right-of-way professional to provide monthly reports that go along with our invoices, or to provide invoice information to our business office so they can do the invoicing. So we don't charge. We have billers and they're 100% overhead. We don't charge for those. So, and again, I want to remind everybody that we only charge for the people who actually work on the job and for the time they work on it. So if we have 15 hours in for a task and we only use 3 of them, 3 hours, that's all we ever charge. So I'm guessing the invoicing, I don't have a copy in front of me, I apologize, but I would suspect that the invoicing is for the management of getting an invoice to the appropriate personnel. Does that help?
Yeah, so it's not the person sitting in the office sending out the invoices.
No, sir.
Okay.
That hourly rate would be more for that biweekly report portion of that line item.
That an engineer or senior technician or somebody is.
Correct.
Right.
They may also,
if you look at our hours too, it's very low for each number of parcels there.
Do we have Councilmember Sharp?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City Manager Brown and Director Sigma, thank you for listening to council and going out and starting the competitive bid process. It's a good start, but I'm not sure all the information's there for council to really assess the competitive nature of it. I see that you have a line item that says one's at $1,700, and they're like $12 a part. And that seems to imply Hubble, Roth, and Clark is less expensive. We understand their work in the past, but is there a reason we haven't seen the other detail behind the ORC quote? Is that something that could be provided in the future, or not always, but frequently we'll see multiple quotes just to lay eyes on them? I'm kind of surprised they're not in here, considering the interest of council and the competitive nature of these bids.
Yeah, so the way the analysis was done was, and Tim did the work on this, but basically took the 2 different proposals and the cost estimates that were provided, as well as the hourly estimates that were provided, and tried to come up with a ballpark of what it would cost per easement, per type of easement, residential and commercial. And the same MO was applied to each of the bid proposals, and the costs were used from the bid proposals to calculate that. The first set of information that came back was wildly different. I didn't think was really accurate. So we took another look at that and did some further analysis and came down to this pricing point being very close initially. The initial analysis revealed that Hubble, Roth, and Clark was far and away cheaper. But I had some concerns about the way that was prepared, and Tim and I talked about it, and he refined his approach to how he came up with the cost analysis. And then we ended up coming down to this estimate. And Tim has made a comment to me about this company that they do have a lot of bandwidth and a lot of technical expertise that I think could be beneficial to the city. But just in this particular case, the cost estimates were slightly lower on the Hubble, Roth, and Clark side of things. And that's notwithstanding the greater knowledge that Hubble, Roth, and Clark would have on properties in the city just by virtue of the work that they do with us. We didn't handicap it and give them a lower hourly estimate or anything. Again, it was just an hour for hour kind of comparison. So we actually think that in the longer run, Hubble, Roth, and Clark will probably be even more cost advantageous because of the fact that the other company would have had, for lack of a better way to put it, more catching up to do in terms of knowledge on the properties and things like that. In terms of providing the individual bids, Tim can correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't typically provide a breakdown of all the bids that we receive. We really just break down lump sums of the proposals. In this case, it was, for lack of a better word, a little arcane in terms of there wasn't an easy comparison to make. Their dollar cost is this and the other company's dollar cost is that. We had to do some analysis on it. But we did apply the same number of hours and just use their hourly estimates that they provided in their bids. Tim, do you want to say anything further on that?
No, that's correct. Thanks. I lost connection for a minute, but yeah, it was difficult on this one just to compare apples to apples. So that is what we did. They did supply hourly rates, and there were 3 hourly rates that they supplied. Based on what hours we had and the type of or the nature of the task involved, we utilized the same type of rates for both HRC and the other folks, and they also had a lot of caveats. If they couldn't reach their information, or that they would require additional hours, they had a very large bandwidth on the pricing on this. So they left a lot of openings for them to potentially overcharge. And I think that was just the fear of the unknown in this scenario. Their references checked out. They are, a good reputable company. I kind of wish that we would have seen it, a number of engineers in the field in responding to this as well. I know it got to a number of them. We just didn't see the participation that we have seen in the past on these kind of things.
And I would call your attention to one more thing in terms of this discussion that we're having in the third paragraph of the report, the last paragraph above the first table. We talk about the fact that there's a lot of unknowns in this, right? Each parcel is quite unique. There may be only 2 or 3 things that need to be done on a given parcel, but on the next parcel it might be 7 or 8, and then that's where it's difficult to try to create a truly airtight estimate of what we're dealing with here. There's a lot of intricacies and vagaries between the individual types of parcels and in the individual parcel categories themselves, right? One commercial property to another commercial property, the amount of work could vary widely, and that's one of the problems that we were faced with as we were trying to come up with something that was a good estimate. But regardless of how accurate the estimates turn out to be in terms of what was applied on a type, as in residential versus commercial, we were consistent in the application of it to the bids that were received. So we applied the same number of hours to the costs that were provided from ORC as we did to the costs that were provided by HRC. That's one of the problems why we really can't present a good, like a not to exceed figure or anything like that. It's just an exercise in futility and correction. If we were to do that, I just didn't feel we could proceed under that kind of a detail report. So it's basically just deciding to accept a proposal from Hubble, Roth, and Clark because of the fact we see them as advantageous from a cost standpoint. We'll use them on a case-by-case basis, and then from there we'll experience costs, and we'll determine from there what we need to do in terms of, adding to or not our budget allocations for these kind of requirements. There's more art than science to this, is all that I can say. It's not something that's easily definable and easily anticipated.
Thank you. I think, I guess I'm not satisfied with the competitive bid detail here. I'd like to see a little more of what the ORC bid, and it's part of my concern is just the hourly rates, the number of different people, and I'm not saying you're not right, Steve. I'm just trying to learn, and we've had a lot of discussion about HRC in their rate structure and the number of hours. And frankly, the West Road thing left a bad taste in my mouth. And I'd like to see more detail. And maybe rather than take a vote, perhaps we should consider tabling this till the next meeting when we can have really an apples to apples comparison of the two, or what I think will be apples to apples, and it may turn out to not be. But I'd like to see the numbers.
And at council's direction, that's fine. I mean, we can bring it back with more information. If you're comfortable with proceeding as a group tonight, that's fine as well. We live to serve here, whatever you'd like to do. So
One of the other portions of this that we didn't work out real well in trying to do this, because it seemed to be more of a financial decision than a quality-based decision. Sometimes we're looking for specifics on a quality that a certain company can utilize within us, and the expenses involved may also push more time one way or the other for staff, and that's another consideration that we're trying to work out in future bid packages, where it's not all financially based, it's more quality based, so that we get what's best for the city of Wixom, not just dollar amounts, but in terms of service for that. But yes, we can do whatever the council wants on this.
Excuse me, Councilmember Berman.
Thank you. Tim, is there any easement acquisition projects that are that need to be done promptly that would be hindered if we were to kick this down 2 weeks just to do our due diligence on this?
Well, it wasn't necessary. Go ahead, Ms. Lewis.
Just for the record, our next council meeting is next week, and then we don't have another council meeting for 4 weeks. That would be.
So this is information that we could have by the next meeting to review then?
No, not anymore, because we will need the reports due tomorrow for next week, and we wouldn't be able to supply additional information than what we've already supplied. One of the things on this particular one too is the sidewalks. If you want to take off the road right away information, because we're off, we're trying to forward think this a little bit on that piece. We could put that off for the month, but we're trying to get these sidewalk easements in place so that we can take this out to bid in January for sidewalk improvements that'll occur in April, May, and June of next year.
And I'm sorry, and we don't have the other bid handy that we could include it in the packet for next week?
Oh yeah, we could definitely include that other packet bid, yes.
Yeah, and the other thing is the council agenda is going to be delayed, or the council packet is going to be delayed to Thursday because of items related to the financial audit that's going to be added to that. So we will have through Thursday. So there's a possibility we could put it together by then. It is a pretty short period of time, but even if it's just trying to represent how Tim came up with his calculations. I don't know if he did them on a napkin or on a matchbook, or if he did them in a spreadsheet. But I mean, there was, as I mentioned, there was a little bit of art to that. So we may be able to break that down in time for the next meeting on the 15th. It is about less than probably about 36 hours away, the deadline for that. But we could see what we could do there, or if you want to proceed, at least to give us some cover on this to cover our bases. By that I mean, you could look to maybe just do something to accept the proposal on sidewalk and pathways. That's a $34,000 cost expense and pretty much well known compared to the road projects. I mean, that would be another alternative if you wanted to go that route, or we just see what happens. But if we don't end up getting it put together in time for this Thursday agenda deadline, we're going to have an issue on our hands in terms of the sidewalks. That is true. So
I can supply the spreadsheet and also the ORC bid package if that would help. We did receive that.
Councilmember
So-
Smiley.
Sorry.
Mr. Mayor, couple of thoughts. First off, they can give us the other bid, but it sounds like it's, and I'll quote them, it's not an apples to apples thing. There was a lot of, art, not science involved. So I don't know that will be helpful to anyone, looking to, understand the two bids better. And just in general, if it's time sensitive, basically I trust that, Steve and Tim have, done their work. It sounds like they have, in analyzing both of those bids, to get what they recommended in front of us. So I don't think we need to table it, but we'll see. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Excuse me. I guess, Madam Clerk, if there has to be a motion to table it, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Gotcho?
Thank you. I don't necessarily have a problem with the way it is now. I mean, I wasn't, when we talked about bidding out engineering projects, this is probably like the least glamorous of projects that could have gone out. So that's probably why we didn't have too many people or companies interested in submitting proposals for it, just because it seems like it's a lot of paperwork and mundane business. Probably not what companies make the majority of their money off of every year. I don't see the need, I guess, to table this, because I don't think we're going to have a dramatic change in pricing or value by going with the other bidder. And really, I mean, this is all just kind of an idea at this point, because we don't firmly have a grasp on every project. So these are like not to exceed type of numbers. They aren't, hey, we're spending $120,000. I mean, if we don't come up with a bunch of commercial lots, and if HRC uses different people, like the $60 administrative support instead of engineer support rate, then that all changes. I guess just for the future, it would have been nice if we didn't put $150 per hour for nearly every line item, but I don't have a problem with the way this is right now.
Anybody else?
Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilmember Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So thank you to the other council members. Certainly good points. I think the one I'm just trying to make is I don't understand why we don't have all the data in front of us. We got a lot of detail on the HRC, but we don't have corresponding detail on the other quote for a known question from council. It just feels like we're just doing the same thing we've always done, which is go with HRC because they give us the line items and make it look pretty. Maybe the other company doesn't make it look pretty, and that might be a factor. I don't know, but I haven't seen anything. How do I move the table it? Do I make a motion or?
Mm-hmm. Yep, just make a motion to
Can I do
table.
that inside the other motion then?
Yep.
Move the table to next week so we can see the competing bid detail.
Is there support for that?
I would support a 1 week delay.
All right, I have a motion and support to table the recommendation to accept the proposal from Hubbell Roth and Clark for easement acquisitions for 1 week. Roll call vote, please. Or do we
Councilmember
have any,
Gotcha,
I'm sorry, first, do we have any discussion on that motion? Thank you, Madam Clerk. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Gotcha,
No.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
No.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley, I'm sorry, Councilmember Smiley,
Sorry about that. No.
Mayor Beagle,
No.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
No.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
5 no, 2 yes.
All right, that motion is denied. And I do have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to accept the proposal from Hubble Roth and Clark of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan for easement acquisition services on sidewalks, pathways, and road projects. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
No.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no.
Thank you. Motion passes. And I guess, Tim, you know what we're looking for council-wise now when we come out with a bid, when we would like to have the detailed analysis of all the other bids and to the best that you can. Like you say, this is not, this one, we're not comparing apples to apples, but give us the information that we need and we'll go from there.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, moving on to new business number 5 is a recommendation to award the bid for tree planting and maintenance services to Marine City Nursery Company of China, Michigan for 3 years at an annual amount not to exceed $20,000 with the option to renewal for 2 additional years at a cost increase of $20 per tree. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Support.
Any questions on this? Seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to award the bid for tree planting and maintenance services to Marine City Nursery Company of China, Michigan for 3 years at an annual amount not to exceed $20,000 with the option to renew for 2 additional years at a cost increase of $20 per tree. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Aye.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall, Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
We concluded new business for tonight. Now we move on to call to the public. The rules to the second call to the public are the same as the first call to the public, with the exception if you can speak whatever's on your mind. Again, if you're in the audience, press *9. It'll raise your hand and we will call on you. Do we have anybody for the second call to the public?
We have a couple phone callers here. Let's see if anybody raises their hand. No one has raised their hand yet, but we'll give it a moment. Again, press *9 to raise your hand. No one has raised their hand.
All right, seeing none, I'll close the second call to the public and move on to city manager comments. City Manager Brown.
So I have a city manager update that I provided, which talks about a couple of things that were some follow-up items from earlier council meetings, the 501c3 status of the Trail Council. Long story short, that's being held in abeyance right now until we make a couple of determinations in regard to the interlocal agreement that's governing the relationship between the 2 remaining communities that are participating in the council. If there's a change there that it would make sense, we might revisit it at a future date. But right now, we're relying on the Community Foundation of Greater Rochester's tax exempt foundation status to facilitate tax exempt contributions to the trail. The other thing is tree lighting festival was canceled, and we did have a videotaping of a virtual tree lighting ceremony today. We're expecting to get the final production touches done on that within a few days, hopefully by the end of the week, and we can have that out on Facebook and other social media, as well as our website. It's an unfortunate reality of the world that we're in, with the pandemic restricting activities and gatherings of people. So unfortunately, our tree lighting festival is one of the casualties of that as well. We're looking to do the best we can and have a good time with the virtual tree lighting ceremony that we're going to be having a video for soon. So look for that soon. Kudos to the mayor and a special guest that was participating with our tree lighting ceremony today. So we'll see how that comes out soon. We do have some issues that were brought up on the fats, oil, and greases issue or fog. And we expect to have information available at the December 15th council meeting on that. We did get some information today, but I don't call it ready for prime time. So we're going to put a little bit more thought and consideration into that and bring it to the 15th council meeting for discussion. There's a report from the police department on the activities of the traffic safety officer, as was requested. As you can see, he's been quite busy in terms of making the streets of Wixom more compliant with the traffic safety restrictions that we have in place, and hopefully make the roads themselves safer for the people that are using it and people crossing it. And then Ron Moore's got a committee that he has brought together on that front too, to do some additional work in gathering feedback from the community about the reaction to the traffic safety officer's activities, so that we can refine our approach and make it better still. So we'll look forward to the outcome of that on an ongoing basis with Public Safety Director Moore and that committee. And that's the only thing that I had, besides the usual list of events that are on the last page of the city manager update. If there's any question on anything, I'll do my best to answer it tonight. Otherwise, that's all I have.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
One additional question on the 501c3. Maybe this has already been done, but have the Friends of the Trail been notified that there is a avenue and a path for endowments or whatever through the Rochester?
Yes, I can say that without absolute certainty, but with 99.9% certainty, because John Hensler regularly attends all the Friends meetings. And I'm sure he's had this discussion with them on multiple occasions. I'm sure the question has come up on multiple occasions. I'll get that last 0.1% taken care of and ask the question to John Hensler and make sure that I can tell you that, but I'm absolutely certain that they're aware of that. So.
Super. Thank you. Thanks for all the follow-ups, Steve. That's great.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilmember Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Brown, just good information on the speeding tickets. That's awesome. 115. Right. I was thinking that's like 5 a day or something like that. Great. It's been a while since I've gotten a speeding ticket. Thank goodness. What are they going for these days? How much does that put right into the city of Wixom's coffers on average? Any idea? Like, is it half of it or $100?
I'll defer to Public Safety Director Ron Moore, hopefully, on that. So
if the unfortunate motorist gets 5 over, it's in the ballpark of $110. If it's 10 over, obviously it's in the ballpark of $120, $125. The city sees approximately 20% of that.
Huh.
By the time it goes everywhere it goes.
Everybody takes their piece, huh?
Yep, the court, the county, the Secretary of State, traffic improvement studies, et cetera, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And just to clarify, it's all about compliance, not revenue generation there. So, and it's a safety matter.
Absolutely understand.
Absolutely, but I do know that it comes at great personal pain when one does get written the ticket. So that's the idea, to make people consider that carefully and make sure that they try to stay compliant with that. In all honesty, I mean, the reason this is happening is because we had an unfortunate death of a young man in the community that led to this, and This was a move that Public Safety Director Ron Moore suggested as a way to address that. And we're hopeful that it's going to have a lot of positive effect on compliance with street laws, speed limits, control devices like stop signs and red lights. And it's going to make our streets correspondingly safer. So as the Public Safety Director said, we don't get rich on the ticket revenue when all the different things come off of it. No, I totally,
my intent.
I totally get that. I totally knew where you were coming from. I'm just saying that's the reality of it. If people think that we're writing tickets to solve financial problems, that's a tough road to hoe for the city, and that's not what it's about. So
just wanted to curiosity, and
it's an excellent point.
We do all the work and all the patrolling and all the paying for the officers and their equipment and the cars and gas and also there's costs in our pocket just to patrol the streets too. So it's good we get a little bit back anyway.
20 cents on a dollar, and as you said, that's time that they're putting into it as well. So it's time well spent, though. It's good for the community. So.
Thanks for the report, Ron. No other questions. I'll move on to council member comments. Councilmember Gacho.
No comment. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Grenlund Fox.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no comments tonight.
Councilmember Berman.
Thank you. I guess two things. One, the Christmas lights at Trigicon and Wilson Marine and downtown, all three of those locations look really nice in our community. Then the banner that's up over Wixom Road looks really nice. I think it's all come together well, our holiday decorations this year. And our businesses that decorate as well, their businesses look very nice as well in the community. I'm also seeing a lot more residents that have their houses decorated this year, and it's nice to see that. My second thing is for the construction and development office. I recently hired a contractor to do some work on my home. He turned in a permit several weeks ago in a neighboring community and still does not have that permit approved. It's going on, I think, going about 6 weeks. He turned in some paperwork to our community for my home last week, and it was approved within a couple days. He said that he hasn't dealt with a municipality that is efficient and as quick as ours is in a very long time. And he was shocked. He's actually not ready. He was kind of hoping for a couple weeks, I think. Just kudos to the construction and development office for being prompt and efficient for our residents.
Thank you. And now you know that you got this contractor. He can't blame the city, right? So at least he was honest with you about that. So that's good. So
that is true.
Councilmember Smiley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought those traffic stats I thought were very interesting as well. And that 20% is interesting. That's an interesting fact that I think more people should know. Other than that, I'm disappointed we're not having the tree lighting event. That was one of my favorites, but yeah, I get that's the world we're in right now. One last thing, I appreciate that the staff's going to have to hustle because of the short week with our next meeting being only a week from tonight. So thank you. Thursday is fine. Other than that, see you in a week. Thanks.
Councilmember Sharp.
Thank you, Mayor Beagle. I just wanted to comment to DDA Vice Chair Kristen Resnick and thank her for what a nice job she did repping the airline trail on the Channel 7 piece. Does anybody know Kristen?
No.
That's a joke. That's a joke. Goodness. Good thing Hubbleroth and Clark isn't on the phone anymore. Okay, enough. That was all I had, but nice job to Kristen. And one other thing, for all you Michigan fans out there, the Buckeyes belong in the national championship hunt. So I'm just going to put that in the minutes.
But just not in the Big Ten championship.
Right. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Thank you. Thanks, City Manager Brown, for all the follow-ups in your city manager's report on all the questions that were asked last week. That was great. I'll throw one more at you for this week. I remember we approved the columbarium that we approved some construction pricing that had to be fulfilled by the end of December of this year. And with the delays and all, I have not seen anything in the Friday Wixom blast. I don't know if those sales have started yet, but
Yeah, I'll follow up to see if we need to reiterate that. And then I'll also ask Kathy, well, Kathy Buck's on the call, but we'll talk with Kathy and see if we've had any takers on pre-subscription here. So.
Okay.
We have not sold any niches at all.
Oh, but they're open for sale?
Sure.
Oh, okay. There's been zero publicity on it after we passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should put something in the next couple of Friday blasts.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay, thank you. And then again, support local. All our restaurants are going through a very difficult time, so that's all I had. Thank you.
Thanks. And I'm just gonna keep mine brief tonight. It's buy local, eat local, love local. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn? Support? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, everybody, for a nice meeting tonight. Thanks for your hard work, and we'll see you guys next week.
Great.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
All right, all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Rob.